It is time now for our Sunday Stand, and this is where we hear from someone who thinks they've seen the light on a big issue, while the rest of us just haven't woken up to the fact. This week, the High Court heard Christians claim they were banned from fostering because they disapproved of homosexuality. Other high-profile Christians, bishops among them, say it's just another example of Christianity becoming a persecuted faith. Alison Ruoff is a conservative evangelical Christian. She shares those fears. This is her Sunday Stand.
If you're an atheist or a Muslim or homosexual, you can virtually do anything in this country. Society bends over backwards to accommodate one, but not if you're a Christian. There are times when we're not even allowed to wear symbols of our Christian faith, particularly the cross. This is still a Christian country. 71% of people say they believe in the Christian God, but as Christians, we're being more and more marginalised. Political correctness panders to immigrant religions despite their being very much in the minority. We're being hijacked as a nation. Take, for example, the secretive introduction of halal meat for Muslims in our supermarkets. Similarly, most local authorities couldn't care less about Christianity. Take, for example, Birmingham City Council, who banned the mention of Christmas for Winterval. What madness! Also, our children are learning about different religions in schools, often to the detriment of Christianity, which underpins the building blocks and moral values of our nation. Such nonsense penalises those who hold to biblical, moral and ethical standards. So, for example, those who don't want their guest houses, their homes, being used by practising homosexuals. Not only is Christianity under attack from other religions, mainly Islam, but also from an aggressive atheism, in the face of which our own Christian church remains silent and impotent.
We talked about the fact that 70% say they're Christians, but only 6% of the population go to church. Is this a problem for the Christian church? Is it a waning of power that you're concerned about?
Well, I hope it's not a waning of power. No, I'm not concerned about a waning of power at all. I'm just concerned that we, as a nation, are going to throw away our Christian building blocks and everything that has developed this nation in the way that it's been influenced by Christianity, which is massive. You look at schools and hospitals and all the sort of public things that are looking after and concern for people. Those are something that has come from Christianity, and we must not throw those away. I have to say that the last government over the last 13 years has done massive damage to this nation in throwing away these Christian building blocks. And multiculturalism, multi-faith will not hold together. It just doesn't.
How have schools and hospitals been thrown away?
They haven't been thrown away, but we owe that to a Christian responsibility in the past, where people have looked at bad situations and thought, how can we make this better? We will start a clinic which becomes a hospital or something like that. They have Christian foundations.
Well, fantastic, yes, and I agree, and let's encourage those things, but I don't see how it relates, for example, to Christians running a bed and breakfast and then saying, but if you're gay, you can't come to our bed and breakfast. How is that related to schools and hospitals?
That's not related to schools and hospitals. You know that's perfect nonsense.
Look, you're talking about the Christian roots of our nation. How is that part of the Christian roots of our nation being discriminatory?
It's not being discriminatory. Why should one, and you're talking about a specific, I think there were two specific cases where people who were Christians ran a bed and breakfast which was their own home and said, we as Christians do not want to have practising homosexuals having a double room in our home, in our house. And why should they?
Right. Yeah, I'm just absolutely flabbergasted. I thought Christianity was actually about love and forgiveness and welcome and hospitality.
But it's also about Bible truth. And that's what matters.
But as you know, Jesus said quite clearly, you can't divorce truth from love. You will know the truth by the loving actions of
This is where I
Christians.
get very uncomfortable about religious debate, because the whole point of having a so-called multicultural society is that we accept and embrace other cultures. Let's all be free to do it the way we want to do, as long as it doesn't compromise the greater good, as long as it's not illegal, it's not inflammatory, it's not inciting violence. But we, on the one hand, we're saying, yes, we're all so multicultural, we have this lovely ethnic mix. But on the other hand, you do the way I want to do it, and that's not fair. I don't expect to have the way I live my ethical religious life to impinge upon the way other people want to live theirs.
But so where do you stand then on the Christians who don't want to promote or sometimes tolerate homosexuality and therefore don't want to include gay people in what they're doing, running a B&B or
yeah, okay, but
fostering or whatever.
If it's, I think everything has to be judged in a kind of anecdotal way. That was their home, it was their bed and breakfast. If that's what they don't want to do, it's only akin to parents saying, you've got a boyfriend, but I don't want him to stay over overnight. That doesn't mean that it's all wrong to live over the brush with your boyfriend if you're 17 or 18.
Well, let's speak to someone who is directly affected by this. Gary Mc Farlane was a counsellor, relationship counsellor, and was fired from Relate because you were asked to be comfortable offering to sex therapy to same-sex couples, which you weren't, Gary.
That's right. That's right, Susanna.
So tell us, that respect for gay couples to have your counselling, at what point should you compromise on what you personally believe to offer an equal service to all members of this society?
And that is really the whole point of what we will be debating for many decades to come. Life is just not black and white, and we will constantly have moral and ethical issues to challenge us, and which we have to try and negotiate. So I am not standing here as somebody who seeks to be judgmental of individuals' rights, same-sex couples. You will not see me in the media making much comments about the rights of individuals. What I say is, as a Christian for some 32 years, I have an understanding of a book called the Bible, and when I am asked by Relate, will you provide same-sex sex therapy, not relationship counselling, but sex therapy, I have to look at my own integrity and what I understand about the Bible, and I have to make some assessments and some judgments. That's constantly what we're going to be asked to do in society. And so as I look at what I understand the Bible to be saying, it shows me something of a conflict in the way that I would endeavour to provide sex therapy to a same-sex couple, because I am explicitly and directly helping them to promote a lifestyle.
All right, Gary.
That is rather different to counselling.
Jonathan?
I just wanted to ask, Gary, what happens if a gay Christian couple came to you and wanted that help? Would you refuse it to the gay Christians?
What always with sex therapy is me having a conversation with the individuals, identify what their needs are, and ask the question whether, in view of their knowledge of my understanding, my background, am I the best person because of my lack of sufficient understanding of the nature of same-sex relationships. And as a sex therapist who will be championed as an expert in the area, I do not have that necessary level of expertise.
All right.
And therefore
Okay.
we would have a conversation
All right,
about...
Gary, thanks very much indeed. I understand the point you're making there.